rush this thing through. Like this whole waiver thing, that should have been the first thing they tried to work out before they even went down this road.
But so I guess what I mean is, if it wasn't, was there a reason? Right?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer. I don't know if he can sue him again. I have no idea how that works. Can you do it again?
Well,
I don't know.
We don't know what the settlement was. We don't know what the
I guess that's what I mean is, when it comes through this, and maybe this is the biggest point of reaction for me, is we seem to all take a lot of liberties with Cap's wants and desires, and does he really want to play football, and how much does he really want this job? And we don't really do it as much or as harshly the other way, because there's not just one face to the NFL to say, did the NFL really going through this deal honestly?
I guess my thought on that is Cap was the one who says he wants back in the league. The league doesn't need Colin Kaepernick.
Well, the league didn't need to set up this workout
No, they
yet,
didn't.
And
They felt like they were doing him a favor. Now, granted, they did it somewhat poorly, but at the end of the day, who wants to work for who? Colin wants to work for the league.
I understand
so Colin,
that, but if you don't deal honestly in that, then I'm not going to give you credit for doing the nice thing.
Then do what you did, and you're not in the league anymore.
Oh, listen,
sometimes you got to eat it a little bit. Sometimes you have to eat it a little bit to get what you want. And he refused to do that. He didn't want to, and that's fine. He made his choice, and now he's done playing.
At some point, it seems like if you strike the nerve of so many of the old issues enough, it seems like provocation. And that's the only part that I look at and say, man, that feels weird because it's all the old familiar stuff that you knew bothered it the first time around. I get it. You're right. Listen. From a very base perspective, from someone who's an undrafted free agent in this league and tried to go and do that route for a while, like, yeah, you understand that you don't matter all that much to the league. Like, they don't give a bleep about you unless you're Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or one of the guys that's really going to move the needle for everyone involved. And then you've got some kind of leverage. So we're all making concessions at some point. Like, we all done things that we're probably not pumped about in the name of trying to get a job in there.
Follow the show on Twitter at Golic and Wingo.
Player in the league in that span before the start of
different way with the running game and defense. Although I guess we should not have been surprised that the Chiefs would find a way to win with their secondary or their defense against Phillip Rivers, because this was the third time in the last 3 seasons that the Chiefs have had a 3+ pick interception game against Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. Over that same time frame, they have 2 other of those games. Mm-hmm. So they clearly see something they like when they go up against Phillip Rivers.
Get to the chart. We got our winning word coming up in about 15 minutes. We just talked about.
Yes,
we do. Trey, well done.
We'll get to that with your chance to come with us to New Orleans for the National College Playoff Championship
college
game.
Football playoff.
College football playoff.
That,
How about this? Mike and I'll handle
Too many words.
We got the word coming up in about 10 minutes, everybody. I tell you.
And apparently there's something special that we're preparing for, which we don't know about.
Nah, we do not know about, but you're going to find out in about 10 minutes. So make sure you're listening. Give you the winning word, your chance to come with us to New Orleans for the national championship game. Going to be an awesome trip for you, and all you have to do is listen for a word and text it. So that coming up very shortly. Now you go ahead and proceed.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So the Chargers gave it up. Phillip Rivers with 4 interceptions last night against the Chiefs. He had 3 the previous week in the Thursday night game against the Raiders. I'm not good at quick math, but that's 7 in the last 2 games. His 14 for the season trail only the Waffle House man himself, because he's just serving him up, Jameis Winston, who has 18 on the year. So now the question becomes, what happens going forward? Here was Phillip Rivers after the game.
It's the only way I know is to fight, and you just keep fighting. Sign up for them all, regardless of what your record is. We've been in this spot before, and you just keep playing. Never know what can happen, but whether that all happens or not, you just keep fighting. That's the beauty of this game, is it's more than, while believe me, it hurts like crazy. We know what we're all playing as a team and what our goals are. This game's way more than between the lines. The things you learn, the toughness and all the things that you have to work on to help you be a better person, man, husband, father. And we're in one of those spots. I'm certainly in one of those spots, and you just keep fighting.
And here comes the really interesting part. Phillip Rivers is in the last year of his contract. Phillip Rivers is either 38 or is going to be 38. And here's the depth chart for the Chargers at quarterback behind him. Tyrod Taylor and Easton Stick, the kid out of North Dakota State, the Bison, that followed up Carson Wentz there. And he's obviously on injured reserve. He's out right now. So where do the Chargers go going forward? Do we think that what we've seen over the last 2 weeks is the beginning of the end for Phillip Rivers, or is this just an aberration, or is this just a bump in the road?
No, I think we're seeing more turnovers out of him. Again, there were 4 last night. Well, the first one wasn't his fault. He was hit by Frank Clark from behind the arm and knocked it forward. I think the second one across the middle certainly was. The third one, the deep one, trying to throw a deep ball toward the end of the game. Now, that arm strength it gets underthrown is what it does. And then the last one certainly was underthrown to Austin Eckler going up the sideline on an end zone play. But, yeah, I absolutely think they have to start looking at this. We have to see where they're going to finish up, where they're going to be in the draft. But there's no doubt they have to start looking to the future.
Oh, they need to. I mean, anyone with a 30-year-old quarterback that's not named Tom Brady is probably inclined to do that. I think the last couple of games have been sort of an outlier as far as, like, if Phillip Rivers can still play and get it done. He's got, I think, 6 games over 300 yards passing this year. Even last night, they were dynamite in the middle of the field. That was just getting down to the red zone, and he knows those are critical areas where you can't make mistakes. But if I'm the Chargers, I'm looking at finding the heir apparent because you'll have a decent draft spot with how bad the team is probably going to finish up, and then grooming them under Phillip Rivers, figure out a contract that probably lets him go out in the right terms. Because when you look at the Chargers, this is going to be a team that looks at Phillip Rivers as one of the great quarterbacks in franchise history. I think a guy who's a Hall of Famer going
He's
forward.
going to the Hall of Fame.
And so
I agree.
All of those things, I think you try and especially, and this is on the other side for Phillip. I think he's one of the guys that still lives in San Diego. I was listening to
you got this tricked out van.
I was listening to the ESPN Daily the other day, and they were talking to one of our Chargers reporters who said Phillip is one of the guys who makes the commute from San Diego still, and so it'll be for him assessing, do I still want to do this, go through all of this, knowing I've got a family of 9 kids at home that I've also got to take care of and want to be around.
And I'm not sure he's done, by the way, with 9.
I think I may
9
have gone.
counting.
I may have gone with the helicopter instead of the tricked out van.
I was about to say, he probably wants the peace and quiet.
Kind of the Kobe Bryant way, when he would do the helicopter practice. So if you're going to do that, what kind of deal are you signing him to? He's going to be a free agent, so I mean...
Yeah, he'll be 38 next month. His birthday is December 8th. And by the way, the reason he uses the van, he watches film, he says, while he's in the van. It's, like you said, it's tricked out beyond belief. But it is interesting. Look, only Dak Prescott has thrown for more yards than Phillip Rivers this year. So he is moving the ball up and down the field. The turnovers are a problem. He only has 1 more touchdown, 15 in interceptions. And right now his QBR, despite being second in passing yards, is 46. To put that in some perspective, that would put him right around the middle of the pack or below it. He's 23rd in QBR, which is the ESPN metric based on how a quarterback plays in relation to helping his team win from 0 to 100. So he's below average right now in terms of how that metric deems his play. His passer rating is also about the same number, I think, which is the official NFL mark. It's in the 70s, actually.
And last year, he's coming off a good year, though. 68% completion, 32 touchdowns. His rating was 105.
Yeah, he's 22 in passer rating.
So, I mean, it's just kind of – and the couple of years before that, it was in the high 90s. So –
I think, Matt, when we were talking to Tim Hasselback yesterday, his words kind of echo in my mind how we tend to make these judgments on one game. And I get it. Maybe this isn't a total one-game sample size. Leading the league in interceptions being second in interceptions is a hard thing to reconcile. But as you mentioned, last year was a great year for him. There has been plenty of very good in this season for Phillip Rivers. I don't think he's done, but your point, he's going to be a free agent. It's going to have to be at a price that's comfortable with the team, and that's the conversation that 2 people that know each other very well, meaning the Chargers and Phillip Rivers, are going to have.
Right. All of this is Straight Talk we're bringing you here, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, because, look, clearly Phillip has roots where he is, and they are deep, deep roots. The question then becomes, if you want to have him continue, I think you have to sign it to some sort of team-friendly deal, knowing that, look, man, we love everything that you've done for us, and we appreciate it, but we need to start thinking beyond you.
I mean, think about the other guys in that draft, right? Eli's a backup right now. Ben had signed that deal. Ben's cap hit next year is $33 million. In 2021, it's $31 million. I mean, you giving Rivers that kind of money?
I don't think so.
That's what when Ben signed that extension. So, I mean, that's where he is right now. Now, as far as the signing bonus, roster bonus, all that the base salary is low, but the cap hit because of all the money they gave him in the signing bonus and stuff. I mean, is that because I agree it's got to be team friendly. So where are you going with that? Because we all think Ben, Philip, and Eli all eventually are going to end up in the Hall of Fame. Now, Ben and Eli have Super Bowl rings to go with it. A lot's going to be, I guess, what Rivers is going to be comfortable with taking as well.
It's going to be what Phil's comfortable with, and then it's going to be what Tom Telesco and then put together as a plan, the Chargers GM, because you've got to have one. This is also a larger scale issue for the Chargers, because remember we just heard a very defiant Dean Spanos come out and say, we're not moving, we're playing in Los Angeles, this is our home, bleep this, bleep that. Like, you're
bleep.
You're trying to be the second team in Los Angeles. Philip Rivers is the brand right now for the Chargers.
Correct.
He is the name association with that team. And so unless you're going to go out and bring in a free agent and try and maybe make a splash and lure like Teddy Bridgewater away from the Saints or something like that, you're looking at a situation where you've got to have a bridge program that's pretty solid to get you not only to your football future, but to that future you claim to want so bad in Los Angeles in that new stadium.
And his cap hit isn't awful for a quarterback.
No.
His cap hit is $23 million this year. Last year it was $22 million. Before that it was $18 million. So he hasn't been that big detrimental cap hit. So it will be interesting to see what they want to work out. Certainly it would be a shorter term deal. There's no doubt about that. And then what do? Do you go about it in the draft? Do you go about it in free agency? But no doubt that's a question that they have.
Yeah, listen, we're seeing, obviously, with what Drew Brees is still doing in New Orleans and what Tom Brady, although somewhat to a lesser extent, what we're seeing out of Tom now. Players are playing much longer and later in their careers and still being successful, maybe not as spectacular,
right,
but successful and sustainable. You could make the argument that, I think we could possibly see 2 more years out of Philip Rivers going forward.
Right.
I mean, that's not – 5 years ago, that would have been that's crazy.
And it's not like the record isn't good now, but you have bookend rushers.
Yes.
You have 2 good backs in Melvin Gordon. Now, if he ends up staying there or not, we'll see. And Austin Eckler. So there's certainly some talent on that team.
Derwin James.
You like
secondary.
Hunter Henry if he stops being injured as much as he had been. So there are certainly some pieces there.
I mean, there have always been, in my mind, there have always been pieces with the Chargers. Every year, they are the team, and it's weird because they're the other team in Los Angeles, which is the funny way to look at this. The Chargers, to me, and the Chris Paul era Clippers are the same team.
Yeah.
Like, it's a team every year that went in with unbelievably high expectations that we said based on roster construction looks like it should be competing every year. And every year, usually because of a rash of freakish injuries, find a way for them to not be the case. And that, to me, has been, unfortunately, the Philip Rivers era Chargers story.
Yep. That was Straight Talk Straight Talk Wireless, everything for less, only at Walmart. That's my bad. Cliff!
Cut that one, please. God damn it.
Why not? All right, here we go. All you have to do is listen to a word, listen for a word, and text it. And you and a guest will be going with us to the 2020 College Football Playoff National Championship game, January 13th in New Orleans, thanks to our friends at Mercedes-Benz Vans. 4 days, 3 nights, hotel accommodations, private welcome reception with our show, VIP seating for our show, and then you're basically an ESPN VIP the rest of the time.
Yeah, you're going to get a behind-the-scenes view at the way that we do things at the College Football Playoff every year, and it's a hugely important event to ESPN. You're going to see tons of our best and brightest down there. Obviously, the whole College Game Day crew is going to be down there. Everyone flooding to, by the way, like the number 1 party destination in the country. So a city that knows how to party about as well as anybody and throw on for big events is going to be a part of the biggest event in college football, and you are going to have the VIP access tag to all.
In just a couple of minutes, we're going to give you the word and tell you where to text it and what to do, and you are entered. It's that simple.
For a great prize.
Just do it for a trip to New Orleans. Are you kidding? You will get treated better than us. So that's coming up in just a few minutes.
And probably deservedly so, if we're going to be honest about it.
That's very true.
So again, that winning word coming up in just a few minutes. Going to stick around for that because this is a surprise. There's something that we don't know about that they're telling us today. So we're looking forward to all of that.
Okay.
But before we do that, we'll get you caught up on everything else and what's trending.
Gentlemen, let's get you caught up on some of the news from around the world of sports last night, and it starts with Paul George. Helped sink his former team, just a dagger in the heart. Clippers beat the Thunder 90-88, but it took some late game heroics to work out the dub. Paul George got the go-ahead 3-pointer with under 30 seconds left, gave his team the lead. Since the start of last season, PG has made 4 go-ahead threes in the final 30 seconds of the fourth quarter or overtime. Ice in his veins. That's twice as many as any other player in the league in that span, which is also hurtful for his former team because before the start of last season, just 1 for 12 on those threes in his career. So apparently going to LA has made his blood chillier. Derek Jeter, congratulations, is amongst 18 newcomers on the National that would be really remarkable, National Baseball Hall of Fame ballot, which was released Monday. Jeter, likely to be an overwhelming choice to join former teammate Mariano Rivera after the reliever last year became the first unanimous pick by the Baseball Writers Association of America. Some other newcomers announced: Cliff Lee, Josh Beckett, Jason Giambi, Paul Konerko, Rafael Furcal, Bobby Abreu, and Alfonso Soriano. Holdovers, don't forget Kurt Schilling, still sitting there waiting around. Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, Larry Walker. So we'll see how that goes, but congratulations to Jeter for the nomination. And Tua Tagovailoa, the hip injury has been all the conversation. Well, what we said yesterday was let's be patient. Let's see what the procedure brings to know any more information. We now know that he has had successful hip surgery. The doctor said the quote, Tua's prognosis is excellent. We expect him to make a full recovery. He will return to Tuscaloosa in the next several days to begin his rehab. It is also important to note, as Laura Rutledge pointed out on Twitter, this hip injury is completely different from Bo Jackson's. There was a lot of speculation on that. We now know that we can say very definitively this is not a Bo Jackson type situation. We don't know the time frame yet on his rehab, but we know that the surgery was successful, so we'll see what that means for Tua moving forward. Gentlemen, that is what's trending. Now back over to you.
All right, Fitzy, thanks very much. A couple of things there. First and foremost, I'm still waiting for some athlete to have surgery and for it to not be successful.
We're still waiting for that as well.
Yes.
Cliff! Beignets for days. It is that time for the winning word now. Here to try and go with us to New Orleans. Winning word, you're going to text it to 777-000. Mike, the word is?
Gumbo.
Gumbo.
Jambalaya.
I do like jambalaya.
Gumbo and jambalaya together is jambalaya. But that's
good.
not the winning
That's
word.
not the word.
The winning word is gumbo.
Do they do that, though?
I'm sure
I
they
would
could.
love that. Gumbo is Gumbo. Gumbo, text it to 777-000. You have to have it in by 1 o'clock today. One winner is going to be picked at the end of this week. You get one entry per day. The Golic and Wingo College Football Playoff Sweepstakes, brought to you by the new gas-powered Sprinter from Mercedes-Benz van. The word is gumbo. Text it to 777-000, and you're entered. It's that easy. It's that simple. We make it.
You're going to want to
easy.
do this.
You're going to want to do this.
You're going to want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
The Golic and Wingo College Football Playoff Sweepstakes is brought to you by the new gas-powered Sprinter from Mercedes-Benz vans. They are huge. You already do that?
Yeah,
We'll
I
give
did.
them more love.
All right, there we go.
Listen,
That's how we work.
A lot happening.
We love them.
we love them a lot.
They're
If
great.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think you do. Okay, so again, the good news is Tua had successful surgery. Again, I'm still waiting for someone to say, yeah, we really botched that surgery.
And if they
It was a
do, you're
disaster.
probably not going to hear it, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But as Jason noted in What's Trending, the most important thing with the Tua situation is that this injury is in no way like the injury to Bo Jackson.
right.
And for those that don't know, there's something that happened with Bo called avascular necrosis. We played the Stefania Bell, our injury expert, sound yesterday. Basically, that means the blood flow to the bone is disrupted. There are some arteries in that hip wall that they're very tiny, and if they are disrupted, the bone can die. That's what necrosis is. I mean, the bone can die, and that's what happened to Bo, which ended arguably one of the greatest athletic careers of all time. This one does not appear to be in any way, shape, or form like that injury. That's the most important thing to come out of this.
Yeah, I mean, to hear that it's a great prognosis to heal and have a full recovery. Now, we're just going to need to find out when that recovery is. We certainly know if he declares for the draft, he's not going to be any combine. He's not going to be doing any pro days outside of just meeting with teams and talking
Although
with teams.
the medical evaluation at the combine will.
Oh,
be
that's obvious. Yeah. I guess him doing things that won't happen, and I still fully expect him to go in the draft. I don't know if you guys think differently or not about this.
Yeah, I think especially now that this end of things was a lot cleaner than maybe expected, because there was a lot of concern surrounding how the surgery would go, what the extent of the injury was. You mentioned, Trey, the idea of the bone in that area potentially dying, this being related to Bo Jackson. And now that all of those things and those concerns are kind of pushed to the side, I think you can feel a little more comfortable in knowing if you're a potential suitor in the NFL.
Correct. So now the question focuses to Alabama, who, again, they were leading 35-7 in the game at Mississippi State where Tua got hurt. They went on to win that game 38-7. So we'll have the college football playoff rankings, week 3 of those, come out tonight. The question is, do we think Alabama has a realistic path without Tua to get into the postseason? Here is Heather Dinich basically answering that question.
Bottom line is this, guys. Do they look like a top 4 team without Tua? And we knew going into the Iron Bowl that Alabama has something to prove even with Tua in the lineup, because they're sitting there right now as the 3rd best SEC team in the eyes of the committee. And Georgia winning certainly didn't help things. So they need to win the eye test with Mac Jones at quarterback against Auburn, and they also still need some help. So it's a long road in a short amount of time for Alabama.
Well, listen, we thought Alabama was probably going to be ousted with Tua.
Correct.
So I don't know why anybody would think now without Tua, all of a sudden they have a better chance. They have the same chance, I think, which is slim. They need things to happen. If things still happen in front of them and they get all their wins, including obviously the one against Auburn, then they'll have a chance. But if they don't get all the things that they need to happen, they won't, whether Tua's in there or not.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and obviously I don't think it takes this into account, but our playoff predictor still has them as one of the 4 best odds to make it to the college football playoff. That's why the committee and how they respond to this, because they take injury into account, is going to be important tonight.
Listen, they're going to have to tap dance Auburn in the Iron Bowl and then hope everything else falls apart. I mean, that's the only way this works, right?
And with Tua or without him, it was going to have to be that way.
I just don't see the path for them. But you have a path because you can come with us. Coming up, how things went south for the Chargers in Mexico City. We'll get to that next. And what does the game actually mean for the Chiefs and Hall of Famer Patrick Mahomes? We'll find that out as well. Plus, what the heck's going on with Kentucky basketball? It's all ahead. ESPN Radio, ESPN2.